Okay, yeah, I think we can begin then. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you all for attending this, I guess, the New Year kickoff meeting for our neighborhood. I hope everyone had a great holiday season. And before we begin, a couple of administrative matters. Please be aware that this meeting is being recorded for the convenience of those who cannot attend and will be accessible on our Facebook page or our website at mossbay.org starting tomorrow. We kindly request that you keep your microphones muted unless you're actively speaking. We'll reserve questions for the end of each presentation, and if you wish to ask a question, you have the option to unmute and just ask it, or you can type it in the chat, where I'll be more than happy to read it out loud so that it can be recorded as well. Okay. And with that, let us begin with our first presenter, John Lloyd, Parks Deputy Director, to give us an overview of the special events services of the city.
Thank you, Alex. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me here. I also want to introduce one of my coworkers, Maryke Burgess, is also on the call with us tonight. Her team oversees some of this area, and we're doing some department reorganizations where she's going to eventually oversee both the permanent special event side of the house and the facility rental side of the house, which would be normal neighborhood picnics. Let me get my sheet. I'm going to get my presentation started, and I'll get my screen shared, and we will get rolling from there. I've got a very, very brief presentation. Oh God, now I did something in the wrong order. Hold on. I gotta go back to Zoom, find you guys, tell it what to share. Okay. So like I said, I've got a very, very brief presentation tonight, just to touch base on special events, specifically. What am I sharing? What's going on here? That's what I was trying to share. Okay. The world is just clicking away. Let me get back to this. Okay. Long story short. Special events, neighborhood picnics. I'm going to give you a real brief presentation, very, very high level overview, essentially helping you guys get to the right person if you have questions. I'm here to answer any questions you may have, kind of explain the difference. I know, especially at the start of the year, folks are wanting to plan either a neighborhood picnic or a special event of some variety. And the more time you can plan it, the better. So, oh, now my screen's hidden. Essentially, there's two. Go ahead. Is that a question? No. Okay. Essentially, there's two different types of permits at play here, and often there's a little bit of confusion over what permits are required for what. There's a facility use permit, which is just general park rentals. That's renting a picnic shelter, renting a sports field, things like that. Generally, those are private gatherings, limited to that one specific area of a park. We generally don't do facility use permits that are this shelter, this field, and this. That becomes a special event once it becomes rather large. A special event permit, on the other hand, is just that. It's a large event open to the public that generally has a pretty significant impact on parks, streets, parking, other public venues, etc. Typically, like I said, as the screen says, typically special events are larger in scale. They do have a lot more flexibility. You can charge admission for special events. You can have sales there, whether it's food, beer, or wine, merchandise, etc. A special event can take place across multiple venues, whereas a smaller private rental typically does not. And those are examples of these would be like fairs, festivals, concerts, any of the various parades, runs that you've seen. Some larger neighborhood events have become special events. Denny Fest being the prime example of that. That event has grown to such a scale that it is beyond a small gathering of the neighborhood with minimal impact to the park. So it goes through the entire special event permit process, whereas a very basic neighborhood picnic is a much simpler, easier process for you guys to go through. A little bit of a comparison, putting the two side by side, because I feel like this is one of those like, well, what's the difference? Really, it's the process is the difference. We want to find a way to say yes for whatever you want to do, but depending on the timeline of things and depending on what you're looking to do, it needs to go one direction or the other. So going down the two different columns, kind of you got your facility use permit on the left and you got your special event permits on the right. Facility use permit, this is generally what we're talking about for a general neighborhood picnic. We apply up to 6 months in advance, no less than 30 days, really 45 days, but all of our paperwork says 30, so I wanted to stick with what you actually see out there to work with us. So that's your timeline for that. So much shorter window of time. So facility use permit, 6 months to a month out, you can probably get that event figured out. Whereas if you're looking at a full-on special event, you can apply 13 months in advance, but no less than 6 months in advance. So it's a much longer lead time because that process involves a lot more folks reviewing that permit application and what you're looking to do. Fees for special events versus neighborhood picnics. The city has an agreement where we give neighborhood associations the ability to host a neighborhood picnic for no charge. So we'll do that. There's no permit, there's no rental fee. We'll just work with you guys to make your event happen. Whereas if you do want to host a full-on special event like Denny Fest, the normal application fees, permit fees, and park use fees would apply to your event. So as you're thinking about what you're looking to do, understand there's a difference in the scale of things. Again, because the nature of a neighborhood picnic being a smaller, less involved, less stuff going on, there's some more restrictions. There's, like we talked about earlier, you're limited to typically only one venue. We generally would not allow sales, whether that's food, alcohol. The facility use permits are generally for private events. And this is where there's a neighborhood picnics, kind of that little weird middle ground and carve out that we've called for. Because we don't want, facility uses are for private use. They're not for promoted special events. Once it becomes promoted and out to the public, that's when it becomes a special event. Neighborhood picnics by their nature are obviously public, but I think just the activities that you're doing, or that would fall under a neighborhood picnic would be allowable versus a special event. Like I said, special events, our goal is to say yes. We have very few limitations on what you can and can't do. You just got to work with us to get the right approvals. We really work with our event organizers to find ways to make things happen, to make your events successful. Whether that's doing a new race course, a different festival, really anything can happen. We get all sorts of inquiries and we work with event organizers all the time to plan new and exciting events. There are two different staff members that are primarily in charge of the two different types of event permits that you might get. Nicole Osborn is one of our program coordinators that works for Maryke. She handles all of our facility reservations. So you would want to work with her to plan and coordinate your neighborhood picnic event. If you are thinking that you want to do a full-on special event, Sudie Elkayssi is our special projects coordinator in charge of permanent special events. So she would be your primary point of contact to reach out to get that ball rolling. There is information on our website, but I do want to kind of just turn it over and see what questions you all may have. Because I kept that super high level because I wasn't quite sure what questions people might have or where I could go. And I felt it'd be much better to actually address your actual questions versus put out a bunch of hypotheticals out there. So I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see you guys again.
All right.
But I can bring it back up if anyone wants to see it again. If people need contact info or anything like that. So any questions?
Right. Questions. Thanks so much for that presentation, John. I know it was we asked for something just a very high level, sort of an overview of what the group does. And I think you've sort of explained that. A couple of quick questions, maybe I could kick things off. So what facilities are available to be permitted? Are we just talking parks here? Anything else? Are there parts of City Hall or fire stations or something like that that might be available?
Well, I'll speak to what I know. And I will admit that I don't know everything. So I can't, don't quote me on all of this. I believe fire stations all have a community room that can be reserved by community organizations or neighborhood associations. So I believe, yes, fire stations do have space available. We as the Parks Department don't control City Hall, but I believe there is a process to get that Peter Cook room reserved for if you want to have a meeting in the lower level of City Hall. I honestly don't know the process for what that is. And I should because it's literally across the hall from my office. But also within the recreation division, we do have our two community centers, the Peter Kirk and North Kirkland community centers, and
Okay.
KTUB that we just started operating again this last fall. And we can always work with you guys if you want to host an event or do a rental in one of those facilities. And also Heritage Home. I added that one too. So we do have a lot of facilities that are available for events or rentals. In addition to all of our parks, I think we've got 13 some odd shelters out there. Located at various parks, a lot on the waterfront. We've got a bunch in town or inland, more like 132nd, Everest, Crestwoods.
So if we were to have a picnic, a neighborhood picnic as an example,
Mhm.
so we wouldn't be allowed to bring alcohol. Is that what I understand from your slide?
Correct.
Okay, but if we wanted to bring alcohol, then we'd have to apply as a special event.
Yes.
Okay. And would there be additional permits that we'd require, or would that one encompass everything, including vending and alcohol license or things like that?
The alcohol, you would have to, that's why the process takes a little longer because we want to make sure that you're getting all the right permits approved. So great question there. If you're doing alcohol at a special event, you do have to get a special occasion license through the state. And that's one of the checks in the process of the review is making sure that you know what you need to do to get that license or to get that permit from the state and make sure that all the boxes are checked and the I's are crossed and the T's are dotted and stuff like that.
And you mentioned the park use fees and other fees. What sort of what range are we talking about there?
For a permitted special event, the permit fee ranges, I think there's a application fee of about, I think it's $50. You just updated these and I should know these. The permit fee ranges from 250 to 500, depending on the size of your event. So if you're a small event, it's 250. If you're a large event, which is more than 1,000 people, it would be that $500. And then the park use fees um, vary by park and by day as well. They're cheaper on the week during the weekdays, but we do have a weekend rates as well. I don't have those in front of me, or else I would tell them to you. I printed some papers off, but not
Just
all of them.
ballpark is great.
Yeah,
Um,
like Marina Park is like 1,500 bucks a day for the weekend for those big events.
a little bit. Okay. And then if we were to, let's say, reserve a shelter in a park,
Mhm.
uh, so nothing actually gets posted on the shelter in the park, right? So we would have to just
We do
let
post
people.
a schedule that shows that it's reserved, and then you get a permit that kind of shows that you have that space at that time.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was wondering if there's other people already there, how that would work.
yeah. We do. Maryke confirm they do. There's a little sign on all the shelters that we do slide the schedule in once a week.
Oh, got it. Okay.
It may disappear between now the day we put it in there and the person that's trying to claim the space is their own.
Yeah,
Right.
it's always a good idea to bring your permit with you. So if you show up and someone's already set up camp at the shelter, you can show them. And then we do have a phone number, our after hours number that you can call in case it's, outside of our business hours. Someone from park maintenance, someone you can call. Should that happen, most people politely pack up and leave. They should have been looking for the permit, but posted, but it's always a good idea to bring your permit with you.
Okay. And the signage is just around the shelters or like
On
you
one of the poles or posts of the shelter, there's just a little like it's an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that's slipped in there. So it's not some massive reader board or anything like that. It's a pretty small sign, but it is there to help mitigate these situations.
got it. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I could like to ask one. I couldn't find the hand raising
It's okay.
icon. So
No worries.
I got a question about some of these special events, like in Marina Park, where they've taken over the whole park and fenced it off for like a wine or beer tasting or whatnot. Very often there's like food trucks, there's craft booths and stuff. Sometimes you can, if you don't want to spend 35 bucks to go taste wine or something, or maybe you'd like to patronize the food truck or look at the craft booth. Sometimes it's all fenced in. If you want to even do that, you got to buy a ticket, which I kind of annoys me when I've seen that. And I wonder if there's any limitations or requirements, that every time somebody wants to do one of these big events down there, that they can block off the entire park and make you pay an admission fee just to go to a food truck?
Yeah, it's a great question, Steve. There are a few different limits and but not exactly what you're asking. We do limit the overall number of events that can occur in any park in any given month. So we only allow 2 special events per park per month. Some event categories or types don't count towards that. So community programs that are ongoing events like the Wednesday market or the summer concert series, those don't count against that event limit. So that is one way that we limit the number of events to make sure the parks are available to you all. The other piece is we do require that there be a part of the park that is available to the general public. Oftentimes, especially with the Marina Park events, it doesn't feel like it because it just all gets overwhelmed, but there generally is parts of the event that would be available to you to attend without having to purchase a ticket. Any other questions? Or Steve, did that answer your question at least?
Oh, I think we have a hand up at
Yeah.
Uptown there. Is that Joyce? I think you're muted, but okay, go ahead.
So, for example, at Marina Park, is it typical that I would be able to enter from where the boat ramp area is, the end of the park by the boat ramp without buying a ticket? Is that typical?
Usually, yeah.
So that would be the area that would be open.
I didn't understand your question then. So is the boat launch open?
So typically I can't enter from the part of the park that's downtown.
Yeah.
By the marina without buying a ticket. And you said typically that part of the park is accessible without buying a ticket. Would that be the other end by the boat ramp?
Well, usually the boat launches, we do make sure the boat launch stays open because that's a service that we provide the community during events. So very, very rarely would we allow the boat launch to be closed during a special event. And usually if we do, it's for a limited window of time. Generally at Marina Park, the part of the park that I would say that is more open is the part closer to the dock. So you'll usually have the tail end of the park. There's a couple picnic tables over there. And then a little bit of the waterfront area on that end. And then usually it gets off and go towards the pavilion as the fenced area.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? If not, I think that should do it. Thank you so much, John and Maryke. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Maryke. Yes, thank
Maryke.
you.
Okay, got it.
And just quickly, just want to say thank you for having us. We appreciate your proactive approach in inviting us and getting some details. Learning about this early and asking questions often is always welcome, and we're happy to be here to answer your questions. John mentioned Nicci's email too. Please reach out. So, yeah. So thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you both. Okay. I see that Gina's online. Gina, would you like to go first?
Hi. Yes, I am here. And I would, be happy to.
Perfect. So you're here to talk to us about recycling, especially after the holidays, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Am I allowed to share my screen?
Yeah, you should be.
Okay, got it. Awesome. All right. So I am, like you said, I'm here to talk about holiday recycling. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Perfect. And I know that we just had the holidays, so it must be, a wrong view here. Hold on. Sorry, I've got dual monitors going. Okay. This should be good to go now. All right. Thanks so much for inviting me today. We have just had our holiday season, so people are usually packing up decorations, etc. this time of year. So it's a good time to just touch base on a couple options for recycling, some of those holiday things. I'm Gina Jan, the Environmental Education Outreach Specialist here at the City of Kirkland, specifically working in solid waste, so your garbage, recycling, and compost. We have our recycling hotline information down on the bottom of the screen here. If you have questions, you can always reach out to us through email or give us a call. And I'll end with that information as well, so no worries. I just want to do one shout out for our Kirkland Conserves. So we have a monthly e-newsletter, and we also have weekly posts on our Facebook page and Instagram page about recycling and water conservation and all kinds of environmental issues that the city works on. So just a little bit of information about Kirkland Conserves, and then I will kick into talking about specifics. So the first one I'm going to mention is the holiday lights. So they are not accepted in your recycling carts, but there are recycling options. The closest one to us is the Westlake Ace Hardware in Kirkland. So I put the address there. They will accept broken lights and for recycling. So that's great news. Otherwise, if you can't bring your lights to this location, you should put them in the garbage or find another location that accepts them, but they're not accepted in the carts. Then we have kind of the plastic yard decorations. If they're still in, decent condition, we always ask that you try to donate, reuse, and recycle is kind of one of the other options, but there is no recycling options for plastic yard decorations. They are garbage. They don't go in your carts. So we always, that's why it's like donate or reuse first. You can donate them to Goodwill or potentially Facebook Marketplace. You could sell them, or even Facebook Buy Nothing groups is a great way to just keep them in circulation. If they are really broken and need to be thrown in the garbage, that's an option. And if you have yard decorations, I've seen a lot of the blow up ones that are made out of that material, synthetic material. If they get tears and you can't patch them, then the other option is to put just not the blower piece, but just the fabric. You can bring to the Houghton transfer station and put that in the textile recycling. That is an option. Otherwise, garbage. So greeting cards and wrapping paper, as it says here, if it has glitter and foil, it is garbage and cannot be recycled. Otherwise, with those glitter and foil, there are the reuse options or upcycling. One thing I love to do with cards is I'll save them and put them out year after year. I also have an album that I started with Christmas cards that people put photos on. And so that's just kind of a fun way to keep those memories years after year. And then, for ones that you find interesting, you can always cut them up and find fun ways to use them as gift tags, or even, remove the picture and use it as a potential postcard. Lots of fun ideas of ways to upcycle. Wreaths. So if they're, natural, made of foliage, you can just remove them from the wire, remove the wire off the hanger, the metal hanger, reuse the metal hanger, or that metal hanger is fine to put in your recycling as scrap metal, but not the wires. The wires would have to go in the garbage. And then the wreath material, the foliage itself, if it's, natural, can go in the yard waste carts. If it's fake, always donation or, gifting to people that would like it, and using it year after year, obviously. And then finally, if it's really unsalvageable, the garbage, because fake wreaths are not recyclable either. So lots of batteries around Christmas time and just really year round. We do have drop off collection at the City of Kirkland City Hall, and the North Kirkland Community Center also has, as well as the Peter Kirk Community Center has a little area by the entryway for batteries. And it's very popular. We've collected last year over 9,000 pounds of batteries from the community. So people definitely are doing it, which is great. Batteries start fires in garbage trucks and recycling trucks. They start fires at the landfill, and they start fires at the material and recycling recovery facility. So we want to just really make sure that we are being responsible with those. And we collect household batteries as well as rechargeable batteries at the city. And then if you have bigger, like car batteries or things like that, they can go to the Factoria transfer station. They have a hazardous waste drop off there. So of course, this time of year, lots of new clothes, seasonal changes with new clothes, or just swapping out wardrobes, etc. So always, start donate first, upcycle, reuse, make things out of those clothes, rags to replace, your paper towels, or just trying to keep those clothes out of landfill as much as possible. And they are not accepted curbside. You can't put them in the recycling, but you can bring them to the textile collection drop-off box at the Houghton transfer station. There's also various drop-off boxes around the neighborhood. I think in Moss Bay there's one at the Super 24. Maybe that's Houghton actually, but it's nearby. There's a drop-off box there as well. So, and we have resources online that I'll share at the end where you can find more locations. And then finally, we have trees, our live Christmas trees that are unflocked, so no powder or fake snow on them, or, all the decorations removed. They were, I believe, collected, I think a lot of Moss Bay's collection day was today, so it's the last free day of collection, but they can be dropped off as well. And you can also cut them up into 3-foot segments and put them inside the yard waste carts beyond those pickup days. So if you still have trees around, that's another option. And then thank you so much. I am happy to take any questions that you might have, but I did put some QR codes here with some resources that are really helpful. I'll also just drop the links in the chat. And, for the Recycling Beyond the Cart, it just is a really great resource of all kinds of different materials, where to bring them, how to get rid of even small electronics is really also a really popular one this time of year. There is curbside collection available for those, for small electronics, and you just have to contact either the recycling hotline with the information down there, and we can give you Waste Management's phone number to schedule the collection or even help do that. And then there's King County's What Do I Do With is a really great searchable resource that we use all the time to help answer questions about different materials and where they go. And then finally, a shout out for the Kirkland Conserves blog, which this content that I just shared was written up in a blog post on there recently. And we share, weekly and monthly different blog posts about conservation as well as recycling and programs that we're running. So any questions? I'm just going to escape out of here. And
Great. Thank you for that, Gina. Very informative, and thank you for those resources. I've been on a couple of them, definitely very useful. Maybe I'll kick things off here. Condos don't have compost bin or yard waste bins, do they?
Some do. We do have a compost collection system set up for a number of multifamily locations, and that's ever growing. Just if there's an interest in that community, then we can and try to find a place to put a cart, then we can set up service. But even having said that, they still, if you put the trees out by the dumpster area, they will collect them for composting just during those 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. And then I had an email from somebody who wasn't able to attend today, but their question involves spoiled liquid coconut oil. Is that how do they get that recycled for biofuel or something like that?
Yeah, so at the North Kirkland Community Center, there is a drop-off collection there in the parking lot to not the first parking lot, but the second parking lot behind the building.
Behind. Okay.
And you can just open the lid and pour it inside there, and it's a collection spot for the community.
And the battery collection centers, or I guess they're bins. I mean, are they up all year or just this
Yeah,
time of year?
they're up year round. They're available at City Hall, North Kirkland Community Center, and Peter Kirk Community Center.
Right. Okay. Carolyn has a question. She says, I need to get rid of a plastic rug protector that was used with an office chair. I was told to take it to Shoreline Recycling. Is that correct? Is that the closest, I guess, is a better question.
Yeah, I don't know of a lot of recycling options for that. I feel like a rubber floor protector. Yeah, Shoreline seems pretty far. I would probably take it to Factoria, but I think it would likely just be garbage. I mean, I'm going to drop in the what do I do with. This is a great one right here to type, rubber mat into that search engine and see what comes up. But likely, sometimes the answer, unfortunately, is garbage. Yes, I'm going to call in the Uptown group.
Yes, you.
I'd like to. May I?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question, and it kind of extends beyond where we are, but the only two places I'm able to take styrofoam, and of course we do get that sometimes around the holidays more. The only two places is Shoreline and Kent. Is there
Yes.
any opportunities or plans to get let's say King County to collect and recycle styrofoam on the east side of Lake Washington?
Yeah, so we host 4 recycling collection events a year here in the city, and 2 of those we have styrofoam. You can bring styrofoam to 2 of the events, and so those are usually in the summer, and then in the fall. And we don't have the dates confirmed for 2025 yet, but I'm just gonna put another link in the chat, which is basically our recycling events calendar, and you can sign up to get notification of the events. So we only send out emails notifying that recycling events are coming about a month in advance and what materials will be collected at those events. But yeah, King County doesn't currently have any plans to collect styrofoam on the east side, but that's one.
Those events do cost, they charge us to bring it. However,
It is $9, yeah, per carload, or $10.
The Shoreline and the Kent locations do not charge us to bring it. Why is that different?
So one reason is because in the past we used to host an event that was specifically for styrofoam. I think it was called StyroFest. And it became a really popular event, and which was great, but it also became kind of unmanageably popular. And it does cost money for us to host these events. And we have grant funding that we use to pay for the majority of the events, but it doesn't cover the entire cost. And so because there are costs associated with the recycling of those materials and transporting them, they do have to have a fee, and that's why there's other fees for some of the materials as well. And I'd also say styrofoam, although it can be recycled, it is not a desirable material whatsoever. And whether or not even transporting it over distances is worth what it's normally just kind of heated up and then created into a smaller material. And sometimes it's made into other things like plastic frames and things like that, but it doesn't have a lot of recyclability. And we do have some information on our website about polystyrene. If you go to that garbage recycling and compost and click on the beyond the cart, that kind of helps you to navigate whether or not it's worth, and maybe just trying to avoid styrofoam when you can, or sometimes it may be better even to throw it away over some of the other options, unfortunately.
No, I don't get any of it, but I recycle it for my condo building. And why is it that there is a county place in Shoreline that takes it at no fee, and a whole lot of other things too, not just styrofoam? Why is that fee?
Because that's a updated transfer station. We have Houghton Transfer Station that was built in the 1960s, and basically it doesn't have the capacity or capability to get as many materials as some of these more upgraded facilities like Factoria and Shoreline. So that's part of why it just isn't set up to collect styrofoam without it becoming an issue, because does break apart and then kind of can fly around, and we want to avoid that litter.
What is the logic? What is the logic of having no place in the east
That would be
side?
a King County question. We really that would be definitely for King County to comment on, I think.
You might let them know.
It's a good question.
That we're asking. And it isn't just styrofoam, it's a lot of other recyclable things that they take. And it's time to have that over here.
Yeah, and the north east recycling and transfer station that's currently being planned, but it will be years before it's opened. They're determining whether or not it will be in Woodinville or in Kirkland to replace the Houghton transfer station. More than likely will accept styrofoam. But that is, I think 2029 is when that facility will be built or finished. If not, maybe later. But that's kind of, I agree, it'd be great if there was a closer location, but currently that's not available.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just seeing a follow-up from Carolyn about the rug protector. She says it's hard plastic, so that can go in the dumpster, correct?
Yep. Yeah, kind of similar to like your hard plastic yard decorations. Not all hard plastic is accepted in the recycling.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions for Gina? I think we're good. Well, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it, and have a good one.
All right. Okay. Next, we have an update on the neighborhood safety program. Either Dawn or Jean. There you are, Dawn.
Hi. Yeah, I said I would do it, so I got my PowerPoint
Okay, perfect.
ready to show. So I'm gonna share screen here. Hopefully this will work. I've managed to screw this up a couple of times. Let's see here. Okay, so we'll go here and there. All right, so I'm gonna go to the slideshow. Okay.
Yep.
So we are in the period where our neighborhood safety program has been geared up for a little while, and we have a proposal, and that's been submitted to the city. So I'll just briefly go through the first couple of slides, which just describe the program. And I think a lot of you have already seen this before. So, but to say that the basic idea behind the program is to identify, prioritize, and address pedestrian and bicycle safeties in Kirkland neighborhood. So that's it. It's pedestrian and bicycle safety, and different kinds of projects there's a list here that can be suggested, and bikes, crosswalks, rapid flashing beacons are no longer eligible. They haven't been for the last couple of years because they cost an astronomical amount. You just get 2 of them approved, and that's the end of the program because it's just too much money. So they stopped that. That way, many more programs can be funded. Intersection improvements, bump outs is a nice one. Traffic calming, speed cushions, and radar signs. You do see those around town. Some people like those. I don't think a lot of people would really want one on their street, but on the main streets, they can be good.
What's a bump out, Don? Sorry.
A bump out is just at an intersection where the sidewalk connects to a larger corner area where the curb is moved out right to the traffic lane. And that way the crosswalk itself is shorter because it's starting about 3 feet further out from the curb. And on the other side, it's also 3 feet out from the curb. So it reduces the width of the street by 6 inches and kind of creates a protected area there. And so the main thing is the crosswalk is shorter. You're not walking in the street for so long. And also it keeps cars from parking too close to the corner, which I think is the big plus of those. Because a lot of times if they don't have the bump out, people will park, illegally, but they're still there right up to the corner. And so you're hidden when you come off the curb to try to cross the street. If people can't see you until you clear the parked car. So this keeps the parked cars a little bit away from the crosswalks. So they're pretty good. I like those. A lot of crosswalks already have them, but if there's a place where they could be beneficial, they're a good idea. So otherwise, we can get down here where you can actually propose a walkway or a sidewalk or a trail. A lot of times with sidewalks, they want developers to do that in conjunction with new construction. So, and to propose a stretch of sidewalk with the curb and everything else can be very expensive. So a lot of times that's not a feasible project for the safety program. And a street light, that's always a nice idea. You don't see too many proposals for that, but it's a pretty straightforward thing if you have a dark area and it needs to be lighted. Okay. Yeah, and a couple other little notes down the bottom there. If it's a traffic calming thing, you have to collect data and so forth. So that makes it a little more complicated for those. Okay, so this year we didn't get a lot of suggestions, but we did come up with one, and that is a bicycle ramp on Kirkland Avenue where it intersects the Cross Kirkland corridor. And this is the vicinity. A few people are familiar with the Cross Kirkland corridor. If you know where the Rotary Central Station, it's called. It's a picnic pavilion that was built on the former site at the Kirkland Railroad Depot. So for 65 years, Kirkland had its own railroad station depot, and that was torn down in 1974, but the foundation was still there, and they built a shelter on top of it, and that's historic markers about the railroad. It's actually very interesting if you haven't been up there. And anyway, so this is near there, and if you come up Kirkland Avenue on a bicycle, you need to get up over the curb to get on the approach to the trail. And as it stands, there's a little dip in the curve there that's not intended as a bicycle entry point. It looks like it's there to give access to some water valves that are in the street, but people use it as a ramp right now, but it's certainly inadequate. So we are proposing to put in a real bicycle ramp that will provide access to the trail. And so you can see this is Kirkland Avenue right in the foreground here. And then on the other side of the trail there, up above, let me get the pointer going there, right up here, that's a continuation of Kirkland Avenue. You can't drive through there. You haven't been able to for years since the railroad was put in 1905, but but it is a continuation of Kirkland Avenue. And the reason I'm pointing that out is that later on you'll see that we actually are working with two other neighborhoods to make three different neighborhood proposals to improve the whole corridor on Kirkland Avenue. So here's the location on a map. There's Kirkland Ave. Our proposal for last year was a crosswalk on Kirkland Avenue, which is located, if you get the pointer going again, right about here, which was approved. So that will be built at some point. And that was to provide access to the trail for all these people that live north of Kirkland Avenue. They'd have to just jaywalk to get to the trail. So a crosswalk in here, they get on this side of the street, which has a sidewalk, and they can safely get up to the trail. So there's a location of our bike ramp where the arrow is pointing there. Here's the state rotary station I pointed out. This is the trail. Okay, so like I mentioned, we are doing this in conjunction with two other neighborhoods. Those neighborhoods are Everest and South Rose Hill. So the Everest neighborhood, which is this area between the CKC and the freeway along Kirkland Avenue again, they noticed the speed limit there is slow, 20 miles per hour. And but they did a speed check and they discovered the real speed cars were going was more like 30 miles an hour. And this is not an arterial. It's just a neighborhood street. So they want some traffic calming, and they're thinking something along the line of a bump out on where 10th Avenue South crosses Kirkland Avenue, or where Slater Avenue crosses Kirkland Avenue, which is right here. And then we move further up Kirkland Avenue, and in order to continue on foot or on a bicycle, you have to use the pedestrian overpass, which crosses the I-405 there and reconnects with Kirkland Avenue. It doesn't show it. I should have added a little bit more to the map here. But Kirkland Avenue continues up here. It's renamed the Northeast 80th Street because it's now in the King County street naming protocol. But Lake Washington High School is just up a couple of blocks past this point. So the South Rose Hill neighborhood would like to see a better way for bicycles to access that pedestrian overpass, because as it stands, the approach to the overpass is almost hidden behind a guardrail. There's a guardrail there because of the curve in the street, and a lot of people would mistakenly just ride outside the guardrail, and then they wouldn't be able to get it. They'd have to circle around and go back in order to get back to the go on the other side of the guardrail to get onto the pedestrian overpass. So those are the three proposals. Our proposal is the bike ramp, and then there's two more proposals that all kind of go into a project here. So we submitted our idea already, and it has been it made it over the first hurdle, which is the city just accepts the proposal. It means it's within the parameters of the program, and also it's feasible to some extent. They haven't done the full analysis of it, but at least it passed the first look by the city, so that's good. So then we have a project conferences coming up in a couple of weeks, which is, I believe, a Zoom session where the city talks to you, gives you some feedback, and you just have a little discussion with the engineers from the city. And that's kind of interesting. And you find out how difficult it is for them to implement your idea, how feasible it is, what the benefits would be, and all this. Okay, so then we have to make a formal application for our project in February, and then the staff reviews it, and you get a score on your program. And then a couple of weeks later, the neighborhood, that would be me and Jean and all the other representatives from the neighborhoods, get together and we give the projects a score. You don't score your own, but you score everybody else's program. And then to add the two together and you come up with a total score for your project. And then the top used to be 3, but last year they approved 6 different projects because with the rapid flashing beacons being taken out of the mix here, a lot more projects can be funded. It's just more money available because the other projects usually are quite a bit cheaper than the beacons were. Okay, and then the city council takes a look at the proposals and the winning projects are announced, and so that will happen in April. This is just shows you how the projects are scored. The city scores it, and then neighborhood scores it, and each scores from 0 to 100 points, and then you get your total score. And that's it. So,
Okay.
I can entertain some questions if there are any.
No, I think that's great how we're able to cooperate with the other neighborhoods, sort of improve bike and pedestrian safety along that corridor.
Yeah. Our project is pretty simple, but I think it's good. And it does make sense. That approach to the trail never even used to be there before the trail was completed.
Right.
And so they didn't really have didn't really have a way for bicycles to get up there. And unless you rode up on the sidewalk, but that's not really, most bicyclists don't want to do that, and most pedestrians don't like it either. So it's not illegal. You can ride on the sidewalk, but it's not recommended.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions for Dawn or Jean about this proposal? No? Okay, great. Thank you then.
You're welcome.
Okay. So next up, we just have a few announcements to make. The first is we're going to be hosting a briefing done by King County Metro about the RapidRide K-Line project that is going to arrive in Kirkland and Bellevue as part of their Metro Connects, which is Metro's long-range vision, apparently already approved by King County Council back in 2017. So there's a month where they're going to share updates on what's happening, and they're going to talk about the feedback they've already collected through the summer, as well as get some feedback from us on 2 components of the project's improvement areas, speed and reliability, as well as access to transit. So that's going to be the second Monday in February the 10th, 5 to 7. And it's going to be hosted at the Uptown, well, what is now called the Uptown Collab space there, I think, right, Joyce? We'll send out an email with directions and some more details in the next week or so. Okay, so some people might say, hey, that is during our regular happy hour time. Yes, it is. And that's why we are going to move our happy hour to January the 28th, which is a Tuesday. That's going to be at Lynn's Bistro, right on Central Way there. And once again, look out for some additional information through the emails about that. Okay. And just a couple of dates here. So the next happy hour, as I mentioned, January the 28th. The briefing is on February the 10th, and our next neighborhood meeting will be on March 10th. Okay. And with that, today we are finishing in under an hour. So that's great. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you joining us today, as well as thank you for all the speakers that are still there. Very informative. Great. We'll see you at the happy hour.